Hello everyone and welcome back to another Universe Sandbox video, and today I am going to be creating a new custom modded coloured solar system. So if you remember, I've had these two versions here for ages, so if we just go into them, I've got the realistic custom solar system, so that's got if we just look here, so that's got basically all these objects in here. So they're basically all solar system objects that have had modifications done to them to make them look more realistic in game. So they've had like modded files and stuff like that to make them look but yeah, basically more realistic. But yeah, what I'm going to do is today I'm going to create a new one, as I feel that these are all outdated now. So I kind of want to have a bit of an upgrade actually. So yeah, I've got a realistic one, and I've also got an enhanced color one as well. So if we look here, I mean this one, yeah, it just has enhanced colors as you can see. But yeah, what I want to do is I want to go to a whole fresh simulation. So I'm just going to hop back to open. We're going to go to we're actually going to use the Planet 9 now solar system simulation here, because it has the Planet 9 already placed in there for us. So yeah, now what I'm going to do is got a fresh solar system to sort of build off. So without further ado, we're going to hop straight into this. So there we go, particles cleared. So first up on the agenda, we have Mercury. So if we hop all the way down to Mercury, here it is. So just looking like it normally would here, but I believe I have a custom variant of Mercury that I can actually replace this with. So I just want to actually get that out of the box here. So Mercury. So I believe this is what I currently was using. It was that. So take a look at it there. And it's basically just a more grayed out version of what we have already got. So all I'm going to simply do here is replace this Mercury with the variant I have. So I'm going to replace. We're going to go over to the custom list. So all the way over here, customs, and then all I need to simply do is place Mercury in there. And then job done. But I actually still want to change a few things with this one. So as we can see, it has a an atmosphere that probably needs a slight modification done to it. So if we look here, go to atmosphere, you can see it has an opacity option. So what we can do is we can actually change the atmosphere colour a bit, so we can either make it brighter, for instance, or we can darken it down. But obviously Mercury, it does have an atmosphere. It's very, very thin, so we're going to sort of make it a little thinner. Because also, if you turn it all the way down, you can't see it. If you turn it all the way up, it thickens it. So I just want to have a nice sort of balance of where the atmosphere is there, but it is obviously very, very thin, so you can't really see it, but it is there. So I have lowered it down to about 5%. I may just have it a little higher, around 14%, so that's a little lower than what I had before. Obviously no clouds on Mercury because it literally is just a very, very thin atmosphere. But yeah, there we are. So that is the Mercury, the custom modified Mercury there. So there you go, nice and easy, done. So Mercury, 136 degrees there, nicely done. Okay, so moving on to Venus. So again, same protocol with Venus. For Venus, I have a whole custom variant to swap in as well, one of my actual favourites, actually. So if I go into here, go over to Venus and place it in like so, and that spawns in obviously my very, very bright variant of good old Venus here. But the only issue is, and it does pain me to say it, this Venus may have had its time, because if you look here, it doesn't work. Look at that, it doesn't work. So replace, I mean, I think I'm gonna have to unfortunately replace my favorite custom because it doesn't function properly, because it's made in an old version of the game. But if I spawn in the normal Venus, it should sit what it should be, 422 degrees. So there it is there. So all I can really do, or the best I can really do for Venus now, since I can't have my custom one anymore, it's still got all of the properties of Venus, this one. But yeah, what I want to do is atmosphere color. Obviously we need to get rid of this murky green. We need to make it look more like the real deal, really. So that sort of thick, hazy atmosphere. Obviously needs to get sort of the right, it's that toxic-y yellowy shade, isn't it? So try and make the clouds fairly thick, but it's something like that. And also clouds, we're going to go thick because Venus also has very, very thick clouds, so double thick. And then we are also going to have them as white clouds, and then hopefully you should be able to see them as well. Obviously we can lower the opacity a bit, so just so you can see the clouds, maybe to make Venus just a little more visually appealing as well, so you can't really see you're not meant to see the surface from space. But I do want the clouds to sort of stand out a bit. So just for a bit of extra enhancements, we have a slightly X-rayed Venus where you can see to the surface. That's what I think I'm going to grow with this time, because, yeah, why not? It's about time Venus had a change, because I've been using that same model for years. So, yeah, but now it's just trying to find the correct shade for Venus. So, I mean, if you look at a picture of Venus, it always has those sort of brown, murky, coloured clouds. But, I mean, yeah, I'm just going to Google a picture of myself as well. Just look at Venus itself as a planet. So, I mean, they are a very, very light, pale shade. So it's just trying to find that balance between the white, creamy colour and then obviously the darker brown sort of shade. So maybe we could go with... Can we check the cloud colour? See, the clouds have definitely got to be white. So it's all about just trying to find the perfect sort of balance between the... Maybe make the atmosphere slightly more murky in colour. Then the clouds will be slightly more visible. So I kind of want to roll with a custom Venus looking something along the lines of that. I think that's looking quite good. So there it is. What do you think of that? Does that look like a cool custom? So you can see the surface is slightly visible, just a tiny tad visible, just for that extra sort of visual look. Obviously, we're not going fully realistic here, but I think it just looks cooler. And then you can actually see, because obviously if we have the clouds, or if we have the atmosphere fully thick, you can't see the clouds, but I kind of want the clouds to sort of be visible now, so that's why I've kind of put it down to around... See, that's too much for me. It's got to be more around the 70%, so somewhere around there. So you can, the clouds are there, you can see them going round. So yeah, but from a distance, I mean, you can't really see the surface. I mean, look, it just looks like normal, so kind of want to roll with that. I think that's looking quite good as a custom Venus. So yeah, I'm going to build that as my custom Venus. So, and then all we need to simply do here is interface. We've got to have a cooler sort of shade there as well. So something along the lines of that. So if we go on orbits, there's Venus, Mercury as well. I mean, Mercury is effectively just grey anyway, but we'll just give it a slightly, make it slightly brighter for the orbit of Mercury. Cool. And then Venus, yeah. If we just head to you, yeah, we've got to have a match. I'm actually quite pleased with that. I think that's looking quite good, actually. And yeah, comparing it to a real image of Venus, I mean, could be worse. I mean, it's definitely an upgrade over what the default Venus is. So yeah, what do you think of that? I think that's looking pretty good. And then yeah, interface. I mean, I just want to have it slightly deeper, just so it stands out a bit. So there's Venus. Cool. Then I don't know about the atmosphere. I'm still. Does it need more yellow in it? Does it need more orange in it? I mean, maybe it needs to look more like that. I don't know. It's really difficult because obviously there's loads of different pictures of Venus in different shades. Really, it's to get the actual correct sort of shade of Venus. I mean, it's quite hard because Venus has got a lot of different sort of cloud colours. But I mean, the sort of average colour would be something like that, I'd say. So that's a hard one, isn't it? Just to try and make it perfect. I mean, it's very difficult to make it perfect, but I think you can, the fact that you can still see the clouds, I do like that. I mean, I'm just gonna go a tad less, 71%. I like it. I think that's looking good. Maybe just a bit more, just a tad, about 70, 75, I've roughly, yeah. Okay, right, enough playing with it. I think that's fine the way it is. So that's the custom Venus, but oh, I don't know, just a little more orange. Enough play with it, something like that, I think is the way to go. So there's Venus. Right, now onto the Earth. So a nice easy one. So Earth, what I'm going to do here is interface colour. I mean, we're having a way nicer blue there. Got a nice Earth blue, looking good. But yeah, onto the actual planet customization itself. So there's not much it really needs doing here, other than a lot of people have said this for a long time, but the clouds on the real Earth, obviously there's a lot more clouds than there is on the game. So all we need to simply do here is do this. There you go. And it effectively makes the Earth look a little more realistic, really, because if you think about it, in reality, Earth has a whole lot more clouds, and it isn't just all clear, crystal clear down to the surface. Earth does have clouds, and they will cover up some areas from time to time. So something along the lines of that probably looks a little more realistic than just having them as very, very fluffy clouds. So if we go back to fluffy, for instance, I mean, I think that's too little clouds. Or maybe we have thick on one of them, and then fluffy on the other one. Because if we go double thick, it does obviously make them look a little crazy. But maybe we have turbulent. Obviously, Earth can have a little bit of turbulent winds. Or we could go double turbulent. I mean, something like that, maybe. I mean, let's just have a full sort of look around the Earth as well. So, I'm not sure about the tornado area there, though, I have to say. So, turbulent. I mean, if we could switch that to wispy. How does wispy look? We could go double wispy. I still think that's too little clouds. Earth does need more clouds than that. Storm, I mean, as much as I love using Storm, I think it's too much for Earth, I have to say. I do like the enhanced clouds on Earth, though. They do look good. I mean, look that area over the Atlantic Ocean here, that looks great. But yeah, thick and... I really like the thick clouds. I think they look really, really good. But I think there may be too many of them there. I don't know. It's hard, isn't it, to try and find the perfect balance. So we kind of thick and thin. But that could look quite good. Or I thought we go the other way around. We use thin on map 1 and then thick on set 2. So that. There you are. So I don't know though. They still look too. No, I think the map 1 has to be something fairly thick. So I really do like the enhanced clouds. And then we'll go with wispy, thin, streaks. Streaks could go well with yeah. What about that? A lot of clouds down there. I do like it though. And then I'm gonna roll with that. Yeah. And then one little thing. I'm just gonna have just a tiny tad. So if we look at the atmosphere, you can't really. Just a little enhancement, just a tiny bit more blue, just to make it look a little prettier and more visually appealing. Something like that. And then if we look here, Earth is currently 26 opacity. So obviously I don't want to turn it up. But yeah, I want to have it roughly just a tiny bit more than what it normally is, just to make it look a little cooler and get the little blue to stand out a bit. But there you go, there is a rework of Earth, trying to go for a more realistic sort of look to it. Nice lovely blue, obviously enhanced clouds, and I think that does look good. I do like the little swirls of clouds. It does look more earthly than having the completely basic Earth in this game. It doesn't have any clouds at all, so I'm going to roll with that for Earth. Right, next up, onto Mars here. Now, this is where things can get pretty interesting, because Mars, obviously, you can have a dust storm Mars, or you can have a clear Mars. So what we're going to do here, straight away, as you can see, Mars' atmosphere is not even visible. So what we need to do is turn it up. So there you go. So there you go. And also, the thing with Mars, this atmosphere is way too red. We need to have a way more pale shade, slightly more orange as well, until you get something like this. So there you are. That's already looking a lot better. And then clouds. In theory, Mars can have thick clouds because it can have dust storms, so they're not even showing up because Earth, it doesn't have any temperature actually, so they don't really actually matter anyway. But what we need to do simply with Mars is we can either have it as a thin atmosphered Mars, or we can have a slightly dusty Mars. Now I'm going to go with the dusty Mars again, just to make it look a little visually appealing and visually different. So we're going to have a slightly murky, dusty Mars, because I could have full dust storm Mars where you can't see anything, but yeah, I want to have the Mars where you can still see the surface a bit, but I do want to have that sort of murky, dusty sort of look to it. And then again, I want to have it slightly more reddish, because remember, Mars does have a pink sort of sky, so we need to sort of try and match that pink shade of just trying to find the correct balance between red and orange to try and get that perfect sort of colour. So obviously that's too white, that's too deep. It's got to be in that perfect sort of area of that pale sort of pinkish sky. So if we were to have a look onto the lower area here, so I mean the Martian sort of sky colour, I mean if we just turn off all the effects, I mean if we can rotate it as well, I think that looks quite good for the sky of Mars. I mean, we can't go too far down because it will disappear, so we just have to sort of sit there. So to try and find the perfect atmosphere colour for Mars, that's way too white, way too red, but something around there. And then it's just trying to find the balance between red and orange. I mean, it's got to be that sort of dusty, it's got to be that sort of orangey red shade. I think it's got to be somewhere around there to try and get that sort of pink looking sky going on. So I think that's too orange, that's too red. It's just trying to find that balance between the red and orange areas. But I'm thinking something like that, somewhere there. I think that looks quite good. If we just rotate back around, there you go. Okay, yeah, I think that looks pretty good. Pretty good representation of Mars. Maybe just a little thicker as well, just to have that sort of dust effect to it. But there's Mars. What do you think of that? So the dusty red planet, and we have increased the dust, the atmosphere thickness. So there you are. I mean, if you want to have dust storm, you could go like that. Because remember, in reality, the dust storm on Mars would, in theory, cover up a lot of the surface. And the only things that would be popping out, as you can see here, actually, would be the volcanoes. So there'd be the standouts. But yeah, I'm going to roll with something like that. So around 46, 45, somewhere around there. So we've got a slightly thickened Mars with all that extra dust going around. So why not? And then Mars's trail. It is known as a red planet. So we are going to have a... Oh, no, I don't want to do that. No! Oh, I just changed the colour of the atmosphere by mistake. No, that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, right, enough playing with that. But yeah, Mars is the red planet, so it's got to have that reddish trail to it, which gives you that. See that's looking good. I do like that. So there's Mars. Okay, cool. So that's the inner solar system complete. So we've got a upgraded inner solar system. If we look at the planets now, Mercury, I don't know why Venus is down. Oh, it's because we replaced it, isn't it? Ah, that's annoying. I kind of like them to be in order, I have to say. That's okay, that's fine. It's not a big deal. So there you are. Okay. So yeah, it's really annoying the way it does that. That's so pesky. Okay, so I would like to have them all in the correct order, really. So, I mean, that is very, very annoying. But, okay, that's fine. Whatever. So, Mars, Vesta. So, these objects here are not really a big deal. Ceres, I like to just highlight, as it is the dominant object in here. No customization needed on Ceres. But all I want to simply do is I'd like to give Ceres just a light blue sort of trail, just so it stands out in the asteroid belt. So, there's Ceres. Maybe just a little dimmer, though. I don't want to make it too stand out, but... yeah, I like to have Ceres just as a little extra there. So there's Ceres. Okay, now on to Jupiter. And this is where I do need to replace stuff anyway, so it doesn't really matter what the search button says. So, Jupiter. Obviously, the default version in this game, very, very boring. So what we need to do is replace. And we're going to use the enhanced Jupiter, just to have it as a slightly increaser. So Jupiter, again, we're going to use this version here. So if we have a look at it here, there you go. So that's my favourite variant of modded Jupiter. It does look really good. And then all we need to simply do is change the name back to Jupiter, so the red spot will generate. So we need to simply just name it Jupiter. So there we go. So the only reason I put letters in my characterization or categorization is just so they pop up in the menu first. So there you go. So there's Jupiter, and all I need to simply do is just turn the camera back the way it was. There you go. That's better. Cool. So there's Jupiter. Play. And there it is. So it's already got a custom trail preset on it as well. So it's going with that sort of yellowy orange. So I remember when I was, literally when I was a child, I always used orange to represent Jupiter. So we're going to go with a deeper orange. Something like that. There you are. So you got Mars in there. Mars still has its red. And then, yeah, I'm using orange to represent Jupiter. So there you go. So there's Mars, Jupiter. Right. Maybe a little too deep on the orange, though. Let's go back to... it does take a little time to load Jupiter because it does have those bands on it, so it could be a little crazy. But we'll go over like more... just so it really stands out as orange over red. So there's orange. Okay, next up we have Saturn. So, Saturn, hello. So again, Saturn's one that's never really needed any customization, to be honest. I mean, what is my custom Saturn anyway? Let's have a little look here. So, this is what I have as the custom variant of Saturn. So if I just place it... oh no, I don't want to place it when the simulation's playing. Yeah, it's a slightly enhanced version of Saturn. So what I'm going to simply do here is replace this bad boy with Saturn. So, yeah, there you go. And then replace. So it's a slightly enhanced version of Saturn. Tiny little bits have changed on it, but it is still very, very similar to the original. So Saturn, there you go. Play. And there you go. So it already has a nice yellow trail because, yeah, I would use yellow to represent Saturn. So... there you're at. And yeah, so there you go. So it has a slightly enhanced clouds, as you can see, and then it's just a tiny bit more on the trail colour. So there you go. So Saturn. Let's have a close look at it as well. So here it is. And there you go. So it's just slightly enhanced the darker colours on it, and then just so they stand out a bit. So there is Saturn. Looking good. Nice. Okay, cool. Looking good. So back to the sun as well. And then actually the sun itself, yes. Interface colour. We're going to go with a nice sunny yellow, as it's the yellow dwarf star G-type main sequence yellow dwarf. So nice little yellow enhancement to Saturn, or the sun. Cool. So then we have Saturn. Yep. So we've just done you. I do want to have your. I don't want to just change your yellow slightly. So nice proper yellow there for Saturn. Looking good. Okay. Next up, Uranus. Now this one's easy. All we need to simply do with Uranus is if we head it over here. Very, very simple to customize Uranus. Here it is. First of all, bands. I'm just eating all of them. This is the way I like to do it. I mean, some people like to have the slightly more detailed Uranus, but personally myself, the way I see Uranus, it's got to be this. So, delete all of that, down to one band, and all you need to simply do is just do that. And job done. There's your Uranus. Customize Uranus. Simple as that. Because obviously Uranus is quite pale. It isn't all of the enhanced colour like that. It is very, very bland. So Uranus, there you go. That is simply it. That's all you need to do for a custom Uranus in my eyes. And then obviously trail colour. again, it has to match the Uranus sort of shade. So there you go. Only just slightly enhanced, just so we know it's the Uranus blue. But yeah, there you are. It's simply as simple as that. Custom Uranus, nice and easy. So there you are. And then if you just turn off all the bands, I mean, you look at that, you think, yeah, that's Uranus, definitely. So there it is. So also, if we compare it to the regular Uranus in the game, if we just pause the game as well. So the regular Uranus, I mean, look, it just does not, like, that looks too blue. That is way too blue for my eyes. It is too much. So that's what it looks like. You can see it does have the slight bands, but yeah, it's overkill. To me, it's overkill. It needs to be that just pale, bland blue, as we know it as. So that's what you get. That is the custom Uranus. So if we have a look on, just to brighten it up as well, we go to realistic, we'll go to flashlight. There it is, Uranus. Nice and simple. I mean, it can't get simpler than that. I mean, that is literally the most easy custom to make right there. So there is Uranus. Cool. Right, and then next up, we obviously have the mighty Neptune. So, Neptune. I do have a custom variant for this, and I'm definitely going to use it. So, where are we? It's got to be the dark spot variant of Neptune. So, there's the enhanced version. Where's my dark spot Neptune? It should be here somewhere. What we'll do is we'll simply search it up. So, open the menu, place, and then we need to actually search for this one. So, we actually need to just search Neptune. Okay, so I have quite a lot of Neptune variants, so I just have to wait for these to load. I think it's this one here, so I just want to wait for them all to load. Come on, game, load them up. I mean, not all of them are Neptune by the looks of it, but there you go. That's better. Okay, what have we got? So it's got to be this version here. It's just so cool. Like, there it is. The dark spot effect, using the negative contrast, it just looks so good. And there it is. So, looks a little silly in the menu, I will say. A little weird on the menu, but it's just so cool looking in the game. Like, look at that. I love it. So there's custom Neptune, and then all we need to simply do here is Neptune. I mean, it's got to be just the, yeah, there you go. It's got to be the ultra blue. So there is Neptune's orbit. Perfect. Okay, now, moving past the main planets. So, Pluto. Now, Pluto is quite an easy one for me as well. So what I need to do here is... Now, Pluto has a glitch in the game where if you don't rename it something, it changes size when you next open your simulation. So I'm just going to add a few extra characters in. Just so, and it's quite a little weird feature, but I discovered it years ago and it's never changed. But all I'm going to simply do is just add a few extra characters in, because Pluto goes so weird if you keep the name the same for some reason. So I'm just going to call it that. So it looks a little silly on the name, but it's just the way the game works. For some reason, if you save Pluto in the simulation, it loses its radius and stuff. So it's very, very annoying. So there you go. So I use the colour purple to represent Pluto. So if we look at its orbit, I have it like that. Because I've seen, when I've looked at a lot of diagrams, they always use purple to represent it. So I'm going to use it in this as well. So it's got to have a nice deep purple. So something like that, yeah. So there's Pluto. Now, onto its visual customization. So where are we? So first of all, Pluto, it does have an atmosphere, because as we saw from the New Horizons probe, Pluto has a massive atmosphere haze on it. So we're going to add just something basic, 1,000, so something like that. So a basic atmosphere mass, so we can have access to the atmosphere option. So we're going to have a nice white shade of atmosphere, and then what we need to simply do is turn it up. And actually, now what I'm going to do is, Pluto has a very, very sort of light, very, very, very pale blue sort of tint to it in its atmosphere. Very, very light blue haze. So if we look, where are we? Realistic. We'll go to flashlight. So there you go. So there's Pluto. So we don't want to have it too bright. Actually, I want to go to directional light, actually. So there you go. Cool. So there's Pluto with full brightness enhanced. So that's too much. So I want to have just... The atmosphere needs to be visible. 100%. But then it was just trying to find that tiny bit of blue to it to have that atmosphere haze. Like New Horizons showed, it did have that blue sort of shade to it. Very, very pale, but it is a slight blue shade. So something like that. And then just slightly enhance the colour or the opacity. Yeah, I'm going to roll with that. Because it does have an atmosphere, it is there. Obviously, Universe Sandbox isn't the best for representing atmosphere hazes. But I think I will roll with something like that. So just a very, very tiny bit of blue added to that shade to give you that. And then I'm just trying to find the perfect balance of opacity. So can't be anything too extreme because it is a very, very thin atmosphere like Mercury. But yeah, I'm going to rock with that. So there's Pluto. Cool. Right, next up. So the next major dwarf planet is Eris. So whereabouts is it? Eris's orbit. I should be able to roughly work it out. Is it that one? No. Sedna. There it is. Yeah, that one. So it has quite a bizarre orbit itself. So Eris, I actually have a custom variant of Eris, and it's actually it's a Pluto actually. So if I go to Eris, there it is. It's this one here, K Eris. So this variant here. And all this simply is a recolored Pluto. So it's a Pluto texture painted in white. And there it is. So there you go. So if you zoom out, there's Eris. Nice. And then all we need to simply do for Eris is very, very white. It's got to be an all white texture like that. Perfect. Cool. And then next up, I'm also going to go to one of the other notable faces, Makemake. And Makemake, it is possible, or it is believed that it has a slight reddish tint to it, like Sedna does. So what we're going to simply do here is, where are we? So, surface, is it? I always forget how you do it. It's, yeah, there you go. Right. So when you have just a tad red tint to it, like Sedna has. And then middle, have that sort of greyish sort of shade, trying to work out the balance. I actually did have a custom variant of Makemake. Actually, let me just have, I just want to spawn it, just to... This is what I had before. Something like that. But yeah, I think that's a little, I think that looks a little silly, so... It's just trying to find the perfect sort of colour set for it. So obviously we have no idea what it actually looks like, so it's all speculation. It's all a bit of fun really, but it's just trying to find that perfect sort of look to it. So we can have the default, and then what if we have the low elevations, like the red, because they're the red Follins. They're Follins, remember. So like Pluto's brownish red areas, this kind of has the same sort of aspect of that. So it's just trying to find the right sort of yes, okay. So I don't want to have them too extreme because it's obviously not going to be as red as Sedna or Pluto, for instance. So it's going to be a pale red. But they are going to be there. So I'm going to go something like that. So it does have that reddish feature to it, Makemake, but nothing too crazy. And then what I need to simply do as well is, like Pluto, this one also has that bug where if you don't rename it, it has all these weird features and it changes its size and stuff. So I'm just going to add a few extra characters in it just to make it hopefully work. So there it is. So Makemake. And then with you, we're going to have a slightly reddish trail colour. Something like that. Something like that, yeah. So there's Makemake. And then I think the last one I want to have any sort of look at is Orcus. So this is the opposite Pluto, because it's usually always on the opposite side of the sun to Pluto. So Orcus. So where are you? So there it is. And then what I want to simply do with you is just a nice sort of brown. I always used a brown shade for this guy. So let's have a little play there. Yeah, just something nice and simple, really. Just something a little personality to the object, but yeah, sorry, just something nice and basic. So just something simple. Very, very simple. And again, Orcus, again, is one of those objects where you have to change its name, otherwise its properties change. So we're just going to add a few extra characters in there as well. So, Orcus. So, there it is. Then, for you, nice brown trail. Why not? So, brown. Something like that. As Orcus, just so it stands out a bit darker. So, it's got like a brownish trail. Makemake, I'm just going to slightly enhance your red a bit. There you are. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's all of the dwarf planets that really stand. So all of the ones that are custom sort of named. I mean, there's only a few. I mean, and then we've got Haumea as well. That's also one of the big faces. So we're going to just give you a, you know, it will be a little different. We'll give you a interesting green sort of shade. Very, very pale green. And then you, I mean, I'm just going to go nice and basic with this and just go just simple greys, just a pretty basic looking dwarf planet, but there you are. So there's Haumea. So if we just look on the list now, so who have we got left? So we've just got all of the others. We've got Sedna in there. So I just want to visit all of the other ones as well, and just also just change a few things. So mean, just the lesser known ones, just the ones with number allocations, but I just want to have a simple sort of design for all of these guys. So there you go. Haumea. Oh, I need to change Haumea's name as well, just due to the glitch. So let's just put a few extra characters in there as well, just so the name doesn't bug, or just so the object doesn't bug out. Then we got this one over here as well. So let's just change all of the properties on you. Okay, who we got next? Okay, okay, this one as well. Always forget. This is one I always forget about. There's this one here. So let's go ahead and change you up as well. Again, just gonna add a few extra characters in its name. Stop any glitches. So there it is. Okay, and then simply year. Just a nice basic dwarf planet. Pretty generic rocky world there. Who we got next? This one. Cool. So over here as well. Okay. And then all we need to simply do is nice simple trail. I'm not going to change the trail colours really, so. Or do I? Actually, that could be good actually. So. Okay, so there's that one as well. And then we've done that. I think that's everyone. Apart from Sedna. So we'll get to Sedna in a bit. But there you are. Okay. So what I'm going to do with these guys is. They always, like I said with Pluto, when I used to see diagrams, they always use purple shades to represent dwarf objects. So what I'm going to simply do is, we're not going to have it on the level of Pluto, but we're going to have very, very dim purple trails to represent all of the lesser known ones. So we've got that. All I can simply do here is Control-C, copy that, and then paste that value into all of the other interface colours. So all I need to simply do is paste that, done. And then I just need to do it for each one individually. So let's go ahead and just do that as well. So paste that in there, just to have them all sort of matching really. So there's Haumea. So then we know which ones stand out, and then which ones are basically the boring ones that we don't ever visit. So again, I'm going to do it with this one as well. I know it has a custom name, but this isn't really one we ever check out. So there we are. So all of the notable faces we've got sort of highlighted now. So cool. So there we go. There we go. So I guess you could call this a semi-realistic system, just with. I mean, I'm trying to go for the best colours possible. So, okay, let's just check I've got all of these correct as well. So that one is purple. Orca, we skip. Okay, that's also the purple. Haumea, Mercury. Okay, yeah. So that's cool. Right, we got them all. I've also got all of these ones as well. I mean, look at that. I mean, what has happened with that orbit? I mean, we'll just delete that because that's. Don't need that in here. Okay, who else have we got? Sedna. Look at 2018 VG18. No, I always remember this one. So we've done that one. There's Iris. So is there any other ones we need to do? Oh yeah, I forgot we got Chiron in here, haven't we? So this is the little object that sits between Uranus and Saturn. I'm not sure if we have Charlico in it. I always forget the name of it. We got Chiron here, or Chiron, however you want to say it. So. Again, it's not actually a Kuiper Belt object, so we will just give it a sort of Uranus-y, or like a very pale Saturn-Uranus. We'll go with lime green, which is in between Saturn and Uranus, and we're going to have that sort of a very dim sort of lime green, sort of sitting in between Saturn and Uranus, effectively. So it's got a bit of Saturn and a bit of Uranus, so it makes a green in between the blue and the yellow. So there's Chiron. Yeah, it's a shame I don't have... Yes, I don't have Charlico in here, but I can add that manually, so that's not a problem. And then you again paste that value in. That is a Kuiper Belt object, so there's Chiron there. I do dig the lighter, the pale sort of lime green, I have to say, but it stands out too much. It's not a significant object to really deserve a standing out colour, so it needs to be a dark sort of lime green, I think. I don't want this one standing out effectively, so I'm going to have a dim sort of green in there. There you go. I'm going to roll with that. And then I think that is all of the ones I need to customise, actually. So, yeah, that's got the purple. Make is a slightly orange. Haumea, that for me is still too... I think that's too green. I just dim it down a bit. I'll make it more pale, effectively. Just slightly darker pale, so that's got it. Still it shows up, but it's not as bright as the other ones. There you are. Cool. I'm going to roll with that. So there you go. So you've got all the dwarf planets in there. They've got the darker purple. Obviously very, very dim, but they are there. So they're the ones that are lesser, really. So they don't stand out as much as well. And then next up, so we've done all of those. Now we're on to the really distant stuff. So we have Sedna. Now Sedna, again, I have a very custom variant we can use for this. An entirely custom texture, actually. So we're going to go ahead and spawn that in. So that version there, Sedna. Here it is. So this is what it looks like. So let's press play. So there's Sedna. Right, cool. Zoom in. And here it is. That is the custom Sedna. So it's got the all red fall-in design on it. It's got custom craters, textures. Made by my mechanic guy back in the day as well. A great looking object. It actually has an atmosphere as well. We don't know if Sedna has an atmosphere, but just for fun, I will keep the atmosphere on it for this. And then interface, Sedna is a very red object. In diagrams, it's always red, so it's got to be there. It's got to be a very deep red. So, in theory, it's a different shade to Mars's red. So look, we've gone more red with it. But there's Sedna. I always use that to represent Sedna. So there you go. And then lastly, one more. So, if we just have a look here. So we have the Mars originally. We've got the Mars and it's pale, dusty red. We zoom out. Then we have Make in a pale sort of red as well with its fallers. And we have Sedna in the deep red. Now what we could do is make it a little darker. Make like a darker deep red. There you go. The mysterious dark red Sedna on the edges of the solar system. Something like that. And then lastly, the mighty Planet 9. The 5th gas giant. Well, we got quite a cool looking spawn this time. But obviously, there's only one and only texture for Planet 9 that needs to be used here. And it is obviously the good old classic Planet 9. So it's got to be. There's just no other option. It has to be that. And this is actually the new version of Planet 9. It has less mass due to the updated theories. So there it is. And then obviously trail colour, I am not touching that. That is perfectly fine the way it is. So Planet 9 are fully customised there. And Sedna, no, I do want you to be the bright. It's got to be the bright red. You've got the bright red Sedna. You've got Planet 9's orbit out there. Just, yeah. So red and blue. And all the way back in here, you've got Make, Maya, and then yeah, all of those guys, and all the way to the inner system, you've got Mars is red. Cool. And then actually, one last thing. Asteroid Belt objects. They stand out too much. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to go with a simple sort of pale colour. Don't know what colour to use. I guess we'll use a pale pink, and obviously I want a darker, very dark those guys down. Very, very dark colour. So like we have the dark purple, the Asteroid Belt, we're going to go with dark pink to use it, and I'm going to copy that colour code, and we're going to paste that for all of the Asteroid Belt objects. So, that's the finishing touches. So that means that Ceres will be the only one that stands out, how it should be, because that is the only major object in there of any significance, really. So, there we are. So we just need to respray all of the other objects in here. Perfect. So, let's go ahead and paste that in. There you go. Who else is standing out there? We've got Pallas. Again, one of the larger objects, but it's not Ceres. Ceres is the only one that gets any recognition in my system. So, there you go. Okay, and then again, paste you in. There you are. Got this one as well. So this will be the system I use in all of my videos for experiments and stuff. Just have that little extra customness to it. But there you are. So, lastly, we've got Hygeia over here, one of the other large objects as well. So there you go. Actually, Vesta, I will give, just so Vesta stands out. It's obviously, this is currently pink. We're going to make it red. Just so Vesta does have a little difference to it than all the other trails. You can't really see it, but Vesta does have a slight different colour to the other ones in there as well. And then lastly, Ceres. I still think Ceres stands out a bit too much. I am going to make it match the other Asteroid Belt objects. We are going to have Ceres in pink as well, but a little more brighter pink. So Ceres does stand out, but it is still obviously a dimmer, darker shade. Something like that. So you've got all the Asteroid Belt in pinks. Kuiper Belt is purple. Obviously very dim purple, but there you are. It's the same with the Asteroid Belt. They're very, very dim pink. You can't see them much, but they are there. Then you've got Ceres, and then Vesta is the reddish coloured one. So I will just slightly enhance it a tiny bit more, just so it can be visible. But I don't want it too red, so it's like Sedna or Mars, but I do want it to be, it's a very, very dark red, but just so you can spot it. So if you just turn off all the orbits, so if you can look from the sun, you've got Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, and if you look further out, if you want to spot Ceres, there it is, and if you want to spot Vesta, we know it's there, the super dark red. But just compare it, I do want to just enhance it just a tad more, just so it does stand out, so you can really spot it easy. So there's Sedna, well, no, Vesta, not Sedna, and then Ceres again, I do think it just needs a slight colour enhancement there. gonna make it like a hot pink, and then so they really stand out now. Look, you can really see Ceres is the light, the hot pink, and then Vesta is that dark red. So, yeah, Vesta, cool. Right, there you go. So that is a custom solar system variant there. So that's my new custom created solar system there. Just enhancing colours, making things look prettier, more organised instead of all just random colours. And if we just have a look at the final lineup, this is what we've got. So if we go back to realistic light as well. So we've got the sun, obviously no changes with the sun. I mean, we could, if we wanted to really, we could do this. Just as a, because obviously the sun is a yellow dwarf, we can give it just a tiny yellow tint to it. Just a tiny tad, obviously nothing like this, that's too much, but just this, like, because that's the normal, that's what the sun normally looks like, but just a tiny shade of yellow. Just something very simple, something like that. Very, very simple and basic, but a slightly altered sun colour. So if we just have a look from the perspective of Earth, for instance, so the colour shouldn't be any different. So we'll just go all the way over here. So I don't want that altering the way the planets look too much. So yeah, very, very simple, but yeah, slightly enhanced yellow sun. So there you go. Right, but yeah, there we are. So that does it. That is our lineup of the custom solar system. So what do you guys think of that? So we've got the custom Jupiter, obviously nice and simple. We've got custom Saturn with enhanced bands, shades, which stands out about more. We've got Uranus, obviously very, very basic, all one band. We've got Neptune with a dark spot. We've got good old Planet 9 in there as well, spinning nicely and fast. I don't know if it should be spinning that quick, I have to say. I mean, what is Planet 9's? 9 out, yeah, we're not having 9. We're going to go to something that matches the ice giant. 17 out. What's Neptune is? I think Neptune's about 17 itself, isn't it? 16.1, and I think Uranus is 15 hours, if I remember right. No, 17. Okay, so it matches the other ice giants there. So there you go. Actually, I'll make this one 18. So so it matches the other ice giants, and then we obviously have Earth. Onto the rocky objects now. So Earth with its enhanced clouds. We've got Venus with its new enhanced cloud, so you can see them. We got Mars with the dust layers on it covering it up. You got Mercury in there as well with its slightly atmosphere. Then we got Pluto with its bluish atmosphere haze, new horizons spotted. And you got Eris going with a nice shade of white on Eris there. And obviously all of the other objects are pretty generic looking rocky ones, but you can see Make of the slight red fallings on it. You got Sedna with its very, very reddish falling shade, and then Ceres, and then also you got all the other planets in there, so all the dwarf planets. So yeah, obviously very all generic looking, they're not all silly colours like Universe Sandbox generates, because obviously sometimes they put them in blue, like green shades, but yeah, we've gone for full realistic mode with these. So there you are. But yeah, that is the lineup of a custom modded solar system, trying to go as realistic as possible, but also a bit of fantasy in there as well, slightly enhanced colours and stuff. Obviously we faded Venus's atmosphere out, but that's what I'm going to roll with as our current present day 2022 custom solar system. So we're going to go ahead and obviously save this, because obviously imagine if I did this and didn't save it, that would be a heartbreak. So let's go ahead and save, and we're going to call it the 2022, and this is update 29 as well, and then we'll call it so I always call it a solar system just because it comes up first in the menu when you filter by name. So 2022 update, we'll just go, yeah, update 29. Voila. Perfect. And then there you go. And then all we need to simply do now is zoom in a bit. So I've got the inner solar system area there. So we've got all the planets looking. Look how fancy it looks, so good. And then and then all we need to simply do is here, like I like to do. So where are we? Gotta have a good looking thumbnail, of course. So there you go. It's always got to have a good looking thumbnail. So then all we do again is save, refresh. Let's just try and get it perfect. So it's got to look good. It's always got to look good. So save. Try and zoom in a bit, just trying to get everything in there. And refresh. And there you go. Perfect. And then replace. And there you go. So fully customized custom solar system. So what do you guys think of that? Honestly, I'm very pleased with the way this has turned out. I mean, so if we look in the menu here now, so we go to My Sims, it's filtered by name. So there you go. So we've got the old versions there. And then obviously the one we're looking for is update 29. So the old version was back in update 27. So yeah, now we have update 29. So we've got the fully updated version of the game rolling with this one as well. And if you look very, very carefully, you can see the sun, that yellow tint, has slightly changed the sun, which is what I wanted. Just a slight little change between the old and the new system. So you've got that slight yellow dwarf effect to it. Looking very nice indeed. So there you go. Perfect. And obviously if we zoom out, there's all of our orbits. So just to recap, we got obviously the sun has a slight yellow. We put a yellow trail colour on it. So it's a yellow dwarf. Then we have Mercury, obviously sticking with its normal grey. Venus going with its slightly musty brownish orange. And you got Earth in a nice blue. Mars in its reddish, cloudy, dusty stuff. Then if we go to the Asteroid Belt, you've got Vesta, very dark red. You've got Ceres in the hot pink. You've got all the other objects in a very, very dark pink. Then you've got Jupiter represented by orange. You've got Saturn represented by yellow. Uranus represented by its obviously pale, skyish blue. And then Neptune you got in the good old deep Neptune blue, as we call it. And you've got Pluto in purple. Then zooming out further, we've got Makemake in its slight reddish shade as well. We've got Haumea in a very, very pale green. We've also got Eris in its very, very notable white shade there as well. If you look very carefully, Orcus is in a brownish shade. Then obviously going to the very far out objects, you've obviously got the dark purple for all of the Kuiper Belt objects of less significance. You've got Sedna in its red. Obviously it's a very notable red. And then lastly, Planet 9 in its gorgeous blue. So there you are. That is the full custom created solar system. So going for realistic sort of designs. So yeah, guys, let me know, what do you think of that? If you enjoyed this, let me know down below. If anyone wants a copy, just let me know on Discord. I can send you over a file as well. I mean, these are all created. All these objects have been released to the public now. So if anyone wants a copy, yeah, let me know and I'll send it over to you. So yeah, there we are, guys. But yeah, if that all said and done, or I can put it up on the workshop actually, if that's easier. But yeah, there you are. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If we go for 50 likes on today's video as well, guys. Any feedback, tips, tricks, anything, or any just overall improvements you recommend for this, let me know down below in the comments, and then maybe we can come back for another episode and just do some final tweaks and stuff. Any other objects I need to add in. I mean, obviously, I would like to add in some other dwarf planets like Far Out and the Goblin, because they aren't in here. So we definitely could do an episode of adding those guys in. And then, yeah, also, obviously we have Chiron between Saturn and Uranus. We need to add the other one, Charlico, or how to call it, that one in there as well. We need to add that in, but yeah, we've got Chiron, we just need to add the other one. So yeah, very, very simple. But yeah, I think we could definitely come back for another episode and just do some finishing touches. Yeah, any feedback, guys, let me know down below in the comments. But yeah, like I said, with that all said and done, let's even go for 50 likes. Subscribe for more, guys, helps on the journey to 24,000. And yeah, with that all said and done, make sure you all have a great day, stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.